Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. We are installing 5-inch NDS channel drain across the pool deck. And this is one of those installs where the pool was added later, the home has been remodeled, added onto many sections of the pool deck. There was a small micro channel drain across this area here, but it actually ran uphill with no discharge. And that water flooded across this pool deck and just poured into the home. And you can see how much area there is. The thing to note here is, can you see how steep, how much fall there is from the pool coming down to this area? It's almost a foot, and that water just poured into the house. This 5-inch NDS channel drain has a 51 gallon per minute capacity. So we call that moderate, which is still a lot of water, 51 gallons per minute. And we're going to discharge this both sides of the pool deck. We're going to install 2 sump basins, and one on this side, which I already installed the other day and I showed you that video, but we're also installing another sump basin on the other side. We're using the Zoller M98 half horsepower submersible pumps. These pumps are capable of pumping around 100 gallons a minute, so this should easily keep up with the capacity of the channel drain.
One other piece of channel drain is over here by the cabana. You can see from here that water runs directly down into that cabana and is rotting that wood. Someone had a channel drain here, but they concreted it up. Can you see it? Can you see the wood rot that's taking place here? It's all from the water coming off of that concrete by the pool. It just all floods right down in here. So we'll cut this out as well. We're going to discharge it around here to the side, and the ground slopes off pretty good, so we can just put it to a little pop-up over here. Gutters are really important, and you notice there's no gutters here. So not only does the water come across this concrete, it's dropping off of that roof, and it just floods this area dramatically. So don't forget about gutters. They are important.
We're using a partner saw, concrete saw, with a diamond blade, and this makes cutting concrete almost like butter. Well, you know what I mean. It makes it very easy. One of the things that we did find here, if you remember, I said there's many different pores of the concrete here. So we found some sections that had rebarb in it, and the blade cuts through the rebarb, but it sure makes it much more difficult and a little more time consuming to cut 65 feet of concrete. Remember, you have to cut both sides of that channel drain, so it's a lot of cutting. And the hardest part of doing this with the concrete saw is to keep a straight line. And so you notice we've laid the channel drain out, and that's actually my guide. We'll use that and go all the way across on both sides. This area down here by the brick is quite deep. It's very low. In other words, it runs uphill. The concrete runs uphill both ways to the sides of the deck. We also found a buried footer. They had poured the concrete right over top of an existing footer that held up an old wall right where I'm working. If you're doing this yourself, keep in mind a couple of things. Remember that the angle of this deck is dramatic. It's really coming downhill, and that forces your saw to cut at an angle. So you have to correct for that as you go. And again, this is not hard, but this is full sun now. You can see this took a while. You can see the sun has changed. It's come over to where we're working. And yeah, it's hot, very hot, full sun. But I promise, if you keep working at this, take your time, make sure you cut clean through the concrete. You hear me say that a lot. Cut completely through the concrete. When you cut completely through the concrete, you'll be able to use the pry bar and crack this concrete to lift it out. If you do not get through the concrete with your saw, remember I mentioned the footer? If you do not get through this concrete with the saw, it won't come out, and you will need a jackhammer to remove it.
So you've seen us do this so many times. You don't need a jackhammer. All you need to do is tap that concrete with a pry bar until it cracks. And you can see this one's got rebarb in it. And this piece is really thin, but if you look over here, you can see they're getting thicker. And look at that first piece over there. And you can see that giant piece of rebarb in there. Can you see this? Look at that. I mean, it's just such overkill for everything they did here on this house and this pool.
So next, we need to remove the old micro channel drain. Let's take a look at how we do that.
So hopefully we can just slide this pry bar in here and pop this channel drain out of here. See how that can come straight out? That's that old micro channel drain. And it's just in our way. We can't break that with the pry bar. They come in 10-foot sections, and there's a coupling that holds them together. So if he'll pull that towards us, he can just pull that right apart and get to the next piece. It's just really tight down in that concrete. Or flip it over, whatever it takes to get that out of there. And now we can break the rest of that concrete. Even though it's going to be two different pieces, we can take that out. And basically we have to haul all of this concrete away. So we're stacking this up in the trailer. If you're doing this yourself, if you're going to haul it, don't just throw it into your trailer. Take the time to stack it up, because it's so much easier to move that concrete rather than dig through it. Wear your gloves. You know, it's a tough substance, but you definitely can get hurt.
Here's where we found the footer, and this actually was, under the concrete. We had no idea this was here, so we had to modify our install. It's really great when you have a good crew. You can see Christine already went and got the jackhammer, because we were going to remove that entire footer, but instead we went ahead and widened the trench, so we made another cut poolside to make this work. So we're still removing the first section of concrete and the old micro channel drain. Remember, that micro channel drain usually just lifts right out. But again, because of all the different pores of concrete, it was a little difficult to pull that out. But you can get that out of there. One thing, if you're going to try to put a piece of micro channel drain back down into that groove, be careful, because it doesn't stay down. Remember, it was concreted in, and the concrete holds it together. So if you try to lay the micro channel drain in that small groove where you pulled it out, it'll probably pop up. Remember I said that we need to widen the trench? You can see it right away. There's not enough room to pack concrete on both sides of that channel drain. It looks like there is, but we need much more than an inch. And because that footer extends 8 inches, we need to widen this up with another cut. But the first thing we'll do is go ahead and tape the channel drain.
So Christine's our professional taper. She's doing all the tape work. She's putting all that tape down there. We'll have this set here in just a second.
It's really important to keep your work area clean if you're cutting concrete, because as you cut, the Portland cement inside the concrete will stick to things. So we're going to go ahead and continue to tape. I'm going to check for level, make sure that this is draining both directions. We're also going to wash off this deck. Again, this is an old deck and it looks like it's dirty, but that's just the paint on the concrete. It's actually very clean, and we're almost ready to make that second cut, so we have to repeat that process. It's too bad that that footer was there, but no one knew it was underneath of the concrete, so it's just part of what we have to do. It seems like we've cleaned this off 15 times. Well, we've got one side poured. Now we're washing off the other side again, and you can see we've got the concrete put back. Still just the final end down there at the far end. We need to finish that off, and we're almost ready to call this complete. We'll pull that tape off of there in just a second, and you can see how well this actually looks. So concrete poured, some of it's drying, some of it's still drying, and once this dries, it will turn extremely white. But you can see the channel drain is going to pick up that water and it will stop the flood. It is very important to remember the capacity of this channel drain was 51 gallons per minute. And the sump pump capacity is around 100 gallons a minute. It also picks up this small channel drain that I showed the video the other day. That's working great. And the discharge comes out under the fence. This is pressurized, so it's 1.5 inch pipe coming to a grate which we secured with a screw. So let's finish setting up this Zoller M98. It's the last thing to do on this job. We're going to go ahead and replumb this, the discharge check valve, and it will come out and discharge somewhere out here in the yard. Basically, remember, I set this up as a temporary pump as we had been here several days, and it rains every day. So we have to have this system working. And of course, the system works great. No complaints there. If you're doing these jobs yourself, you're the DIY, I hope that these videos really help you. Here again, we're setting up that Zoller M98, and this is the heart of the system. Yeah, that channel drain has to be set, a lot of concrete to cut, but you know what? That's just a drain. What really makes this system work is the discharge. Remember the capacity of the channel drain. It is 51 gallons per minute. We need something that's going to keep up with that. So we've installed the Zoller M98, and it pushes around 100 gallons a minute.
There's all the water coming down and going in. And it's going, must be going out because it's been raining for 10-15 minutes. I don't think it could have filled up that basin yet. I mean, I think it did fill the basin up. And it must have filled the basin up by now, so it's bumping it out. It's not backed up. This is good heavy rain.
Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drainage, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.